Okay, the next tooth will be tooth number 25, and that's the mandibular lower right central incisor. So then we will replace the tooth with a die. So let's see, that's 26, that's 23, so we'll need 25, that's 27, 25, right there. So we're going to put a little bit of lube on it, this time even less. And we'll start the same way. Making a coping. And remember, do not push from the tip, because you're gonna break the wax coping, it's gonna come off and you're gonna have to redo it. So we grab it from the lingual and the labial and then push it down like that. Make sure again the margin should be below the gum, both lingual and labial. And we see here it's not below the gum, so I'm going to try to push it down even more. So there we go. If you notice, this tooth itself has the gingival area way further down than this one, which sometimes happens in real life. So don't worry about it, just start waxing. So again, medial labial point angle. This time be a little bit more careful because the adjacent tooth is wax, so you're gonna fuse it together if you touch it, which is not really that much of an issue because you can always take a razor blade and cut it. It's just if we wax it more carefully, it's faster. Now the incisal edge. That one we can touch. This one we just go very close, but not quite there. Okay. So we have the incisor ledge more or less. And we'll go with the distal facial line angle. Distal facial line angle. And mesiofacial line angle. Remember, be careful so you don't ruin the other side. Okay, so we can look at it from the side a little bit, make sure we're not taking it out too much. In fact, it's a little bit far in, you see. So if we look at it from the top, we can see that it's much further in than the other one. So we're gonna build it up a little bit on the incisor ledge towards the facial. See? Just like that. Bring that point angle way out to where the other one's supposed to be. See, get it close. Just little drops, that's all you need. Little drops. Then we will adjust the line angles again. And we go down and create a gingival area. Remember, this is where the height of contour is. So we have to keep checking on the side. Make sure that we're not going too far out. You go out too far, it's not a huge deal, it's just that you gotta start carving back and then your anatomy will be compromised. You slowly build it up. Now it's a little far out, but we'll take it back later. Now we'll do the lingual. So, mesiolingual marginal ridge, right here. the distal lingual marginal ridge. Then we'll do cingulum. Remember, as you're waxing, try to say it to yourself what you're actually waxing. It will help you remember. So this is the lingual fossa right there. Later we can scoop it out a little bit more. But for now, we're going to take the tooth out. And since we have a diastema right here, diastema is a space between the two teeth. So we're going to fill that up as we're fixing the margins and the deficiencies of the tooth. So first, again, we fill up the areas we couldn't reach. So the mesial part has more of a curvature than the distal part. The other tooth had it the opposite way, but this is the correct way. Mesial is always more curvy than the distal. Sometimes when they make these models, they make a mistake here and there. So this is another good way of telling which tooth is it. Is it the left or is it the right? By which is the mesial portion. If we know that the bigger curve is on the mesial, then we know that if this is a right, this is going to be a right incisor because this is facing mesially. And if we know that this is a central. But each tooth we can tell which is the mesial, so we can tell whether it's the left or is it the right without even seeing the occlusion or the incisal edge. So now we're going to add to the mesial a little bit since we don't have contact and we have a diastema. Diastema is a space between the teeth, and that space sometimes is requested by the patient because their original dentition had that space and it gives them a certain look, and if they like it, they will want to put it back the way they gotten used to it. So before it completely hardens, we put it back and the diastema is gone. So now we will take our Hallenbach carver, which is this one right here. It's the Hallenbach carver. So we take out the tooth and we're gonna carve down the margins to where they should be. Remember, be gentle with it. It's a small tooth, so if you start carving too hard, you will break it and you will have to re-wax it, which will set you back or give you more homework. Remember, if you don't carve this down enough, the tooth will keep popping out of the model because the model is rubber. Also remember that line angles have a curve to them. They're not really lines like the name suggests. So now we can carve out the lingual fossa a little bit. And then once we carve that out, we're going to be left with the marginal ridges and the cingulum. So when we put it back, we're going to check to see if the marginal ridges line up with the adjacent tooth. If we look at it, it's a tiny bit higher right here. So we're going to have to carve that down a bit till the marginal ridges line up, and then we're going to have to make the fossa deeper, the lingual fossa deeper on that side. Let's take it out. Let's get carving. And on this tooth we also ended up with a little bit of a show through of the dye. You see the white area? So later on, maybe if we decide to, we can add a little bit of wax here and then raise up the marginal ridges a little bit on both of the teeth, just so that they're even, and this way we don't have to see those thin areas. So we can just add a little bit of wax, add a little bit of wax there. And once we wax the laterals, then we can adjust all four of them so they match. Since there is no occlusion here, we could make it a little bit thicker. But we can't make it too thick because then the tongue won't be able to slide across the tissue and it's going to catch right on the cingulum. If it's too fat, then it's going to feel something funny. So then we just double check the incisal edge. We see that this is like way thicker than the other one, so we will reduce that. And it's mainly from the lingual. You see the labial is a little bit, it's a little bit thicker, but not too much. So we're going to adjust a little bit on the labial, flatten the top, angling it down a little bit, and take a little more off the lingual incisal edge right here. Let's get everything even. Okay. Okay, so let's adjust the marginal ridges a little bit thicker here. It's a little thin. I like to make them a little thicker right at the gingival, and then bring it thinner as you get to the incisor. Same thing here. So then we have a nice curvature right there. And we have the facials. They're pretty nice. We can adjust them a little bit more when we get finished with the laterals. So, time to start with the laterals.